So what are the top 10 scariest animals in Star Wars? I think it's a question that not many people ask that much. It is about the animals in Star Wars, because in Star Wars it's pretty easy to focus on like the various different species, and that kind of takes away from the, I guess, focus on the animals. So in this stream, I want to talk about the top 10 animals in Star Wars. Not top 10 animals, the top 10 scariest. So I got a list, I got a picture for each one, and I'm just going to go through them one at a time and discuss why I put them in their places. So the first one I have, number 10 on the list, is the Nexu. This is the cat-like monster that we see on Geonosis. It's the one that attacks Padme. Super vicious looking, giant teeth, like spines on its back, 4 eyes, claws, I guess. Just a vicious looking beast. So that's the Nexu. I put it at number 10, and this is like the number 10. This like vicious cat-like sharp teeth thing. So you can already tell this list is gonna be pretty scary, I guess. I mean, you're probably not gonna get scared while watching the video, right? But like, say you were to encounter these in like person, you would definitely be scared by all these. So the Nexu, just a vicious beast, I guess. Very dangerous. It just seems very risky to even get close to these things. Not the biggest one, not the most torturous one or the spookiest one, but definitely a dangerous one. So let's move on to number 9, which is... Oh, I'm forgetting the name. Oh, man. Let me look at my search history. It's probably here somewhere. Not the blurg. It's not the blurg. Sorry for the inconvenience. They had a weird name. It's like, there it is. Great. I found a different name for the same creature. Oh, never mind. I found it there. There it is. So it's Gutkurrs. It's called a Gutkur. The R is probably like a ruled R, so sorry for the wait. I had to look up the name. Probably should have written it down somewhere on paper where it's, I don't have to like go away from my streaming software and all that stuff to look it up. But the Gutkur, these things, if you don't remember, which you probably don't remember very well, these are the things you see in the Ryloth arc of the Clone Wars. I don't know, they like got released to like hunt Obi-Wan and the 212th Battalion as they infiltrated the city. So, yeah, I mean, we don't really get to see them fight that much. They never really, at least I don't think they actually battle. But you can kind of tell they're like covered in carapace armor. They've got sharp teeth, very slitted eyes, long legs. I believe they were pretty quick. I'd have to rewatch the video or the episode, but yeah, these things are pretty scary, and I put them above the Nexu, probably just because of their size. They're significantly bigger than the Nexu, which makes them more scary. Another thing that makes them more scary is their armor. They seem a lot tougher than the Nexu. So the Nexu seems more, aggressive. These things are probably the scarier beast. I say probably. They're scarier to me. They might not be scarier to you, but I think overall they're more scary because they've got this toughness and they've got just a larger size. But that's pretty much all I have to say about the Gutkur. Moving on to number 7 is the Acklay, and I've always loved the Acklay. I mean, this guy is, I don't know, there's just something about, move that, there you go. There's just something about, like, the six-legged, green, insectoid-like, I don't know, like, with pincers, and, it's just a very vicious-looking beast. And I've always loved it, but at the same time, it's a big, scary beast, so I didn't put it very high on this list, because like it doesn't seem super like it's not slimy, it's not that spooky, but it's definitely dangerous looking, and that's kind of the common theme of these lower tier ones is they're not really like scary, but they're just dangerous looking, and the Acklay is definitely that. Like this six-legged monster coming to kill you, like it's got giant teeth, even though it doesn't really have that much of a use for them with those. Like it can barely get its face to the ground, it would seem. But yeah, so it's got giant teeth. It's got like spikes everywhere, especially those 6 spikes that I keep talking about. And it just moves very menacingly. So yeah, I've always loved seeing Obi-Wan fight the Acklay. It's one of my favorite parts of Episode 2 is the Acklay. But moving on to number 5, I believe this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No. This should be number 6. I'm very bad at counting, apparently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. How do I have 11 here? 10, 9, 8, 7. I keep getting 7. I'm going to go with number 7. That's not good. I already lost count. Sorry for all the inconveniences. Yeah, but anyways, continuing on with the Rancor. The Rancor is another big scary beast. Definitely looks dangerous. The reason that's not higher is because it's kind of slow. Like, honestly, it just doesn't move that fast, so it doesn't seem to be as dangerous as, like, a quicker moving one. But at the same time, it's really big, really dangerous, really strong, really tough. Like, and it's like covered in like slime and drool, and that just makes it more scary to me. A lot of the things that scare me are kind of like covered in slime and stuff. So yeah, that's the Rancor, like classic beast in Star Wars. But yeah, not too scary to me just because it moves kind of slow. But at the same time, it is still like a really scary beast. So moving on to number 6 is the Sarlacc Pin, and again another classic Return of the Jedi beast. This one is very different from all the other ones on the list because it doesn't move. The Sarlacc Pit is stationary. The only dangers of it is if you get like knocked in or you fall in accidentally, and you know I don't know, it's just something scary about it not moving, I guess. And it's got lots of tentacles, and it's got lots of spikes, and it's got this giant mouth. But I think the scariest part about it is that if you fall into it, you'll be digested for, I don't know, it depends on how old you are, because your matter will be digested over, what is it, like 1,000 years or something. Regardless of the number, it's basically your entire lifetime. So, well, I suppose before you die of hunger, which is like, or thirst, I guess. So, a week, which is scary. Like, it's kind of funny to point out, well, you die of thirst before like 7 days out of the first 1,000 years or whatever. But at the same time, that's still 7 days of being digested. Like, that is just terrifying. And like, imagine like at night, and this thing's just like you slip or something and you fall into one of these, and I'm sure that's not very likely, they're not very common, but at the same time it's like, yeah, well, it's not very likely to get bitten by a shark, and people are still scared of those. So regardless of the likelihood, just the idea of that happening to you is scary enough to make this number 5 on the list. Number 6 on the list is uncommon, or a not very well known one, called a Lilac. My first encounter with these, the first time I heard about them was in the Lords of the Sith book, where Vader and Sidious fight them, and they're said to be the like top predators on Ryloth. So that means that they're the predators above the Gut-Curs. Yeah, so super vicious. I believe they eat each other if there's not enough prey around for them to eat, so they're definitely very predatory, definitely vicious, and kind of similar to the Acklay. They've got like 6 legs, and they've also got 2 tentacles and what appear to be like pincers on the top of their head or something. I've never seen them in like animation or live action or anything. I don't think they're in anything like that. But even just seeing pictures of them and reading about them in books, you can tell they're very scary beasts. Scary beasts. And this is kind of like the top tier of the, I guess, not scary but dangerous looking beasts in Star Wars. Like the Nexu is just kind of vicious, and the gut curves are just kind of, they look like you wouldn't be able to beat them. So that's kind of where this kind of thought ends, I guess. There is actually one more, but that one's also scary for other reasons. So, yeah, the Lilac is like top predator of Rylock, which is saying something because Rylock has a lot of predators. So yeah, Lilac's very dangerous, very deadly. Moving on to number 4, and this is the one I was talking about, where it is one of those like dangerous ones, and that's the main motivation. But at the same time, this one, and if you can't tell from the picture, it's a bantha. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Great Dragon, not the bantha there. That's just happens to be in the picture. The Great Dragon, as we see in The Mandalorian, digs underground, shoots acid, and is just absolutely ginormous. Which I think that this one is probably like a not very normal Great Dragon, because the skeleton we see of the one in The New Hope is a lot smaller than this. And sure, that one could be small, but this one could also be big, and that's probably a better explanation of that. That one's small, this one's big. So yeah, these things are absolutely massive. Even if this one is big for its species, it's still absolutely massive. Just dwarfs everything. And this picture doesn't really do it justice, because that bantha is a lot closer to the camera than that Great Dragon is. The Great Dragon is like I don't know. It's a snake, right? So you wouldn't expect it to be very tall, but at the same time, it's like 10 times taller than a person. So it's like 60 feet tall. And then it's even longer, and it digs underground, and it shoots this like nasty acid that like burns, like not literally burns, but like it dissolves people pretty much on touch. Like they just turn into white smoke, basically. So yeah, watching this fighting the Mandalorians and Tusken Raiders and Tatooine, like I guess cowboys, because that's what they are. Very scary scene. I mean, I'm not personally scared, but if I'm thinking about fighting this thing, that's a pretty scary thought. So yeah, Great Dragon is very scary, very dangerous, and it's just super ugly, and like it's got no eyes. It's got like sand caked all over it. Comes out of the ground just devouring everything. Yeah, definitely deserving of a top 4 spot. But I mean, this is top 4. Like, top 3 is, and all the way up to the top 1, like, so spooky. But with that being said, let's move on to the top 3. This is the Dianoga. And this is, you might not recognize it, this is the trash monster from episode 4 that they meet in the trash compactor on the Death Star. And it, like, grabs Luke and, like, takes him under and is, like, choking him. And then it only goes away when the trash compactor starts closing. But like this thing is just so nasty, because it's like always like in the sewers, it's always in trash, it's just absolutely disgusting, and it's also pretty dangerous. It like chokes you and pulls you underwater, which is just an absolutely terrifying thought of being like having this like snake thing wrapped around your neck, and you get tugged underneath like nasty trash water. Like, that is terrifying. And honestly, I almost put this one at number 1, but 2 and 3 are, like, I would say equally as scary as the Dianoga. Just an absolutely terrifying monster. Yeah, moving on to number 2. So second best one. This isn't the Clone Troopers. This isn't Bear's Ophi. This is the Brainworm. I think its only name is the Geonosian Brainworm. They don't really have, they don't have like a Dianoga or a Gutger or a Lilac word for it. They just call it the Geonosian Brainworm. And these things, they basically crawl into your nose and then control you. And they can like control dead bodies too. So like there's Geonosian zombies kind of. Like, they're not literally coming back to life. They've got a parasite in their brain. But yeah, like, these things crawl into your nose, they take over your brain, and, like, there's no visible sign. The only way to defeat them is through cold. Obviously, they come from Geonosis, a pretty warm planet, so they're weak to cold. If you cool, like, the victims down enough, then, like, the Geonosian brainworms have to come out and they kind of die. So yeah, they have, like, one weakness, but, like, they can take over your brain. They can take over your Jedi's brain, and then that Jedi, like, the Jedi retains all their powers. With just the added intent of spreading these worms everywhere, which is, like, their only intent. Like, they're just trying to spread, and that's just, like, a scary thought, because they're not, like, at least Palpatine had a plan for ruling the galaxy. These things just want to spread, like, their existence throughout the galaxy, and that is just absolutely terrifying. Like, I hate the idea of being controlled by a brainworm that crawled into my nose. Like, ugh, that is absolutely terrifying. But number one, and maybe this shouldn't have been number one, but, I mean, it's hard to choose these. These are scary. These are the Rathtars. You first see them in, or at least I first saw them, in The Force Awakens. And those are the things that Han Solo was hauling around when we first meet him. And they're terrifying. And, like, they're big. They've got lots of teeth. They've got tentacles. But they're actually really fast and really smart. And really strong, of course, because they're really big. But their speed and intelligence is what impresses me the most. I believe they are, like, expert pack hunters, so they work well together. They, like, trap and stuff. Darth Maul fought them in a comic, which I haven't read the comic, but I do know he fights them in the comic. There's a picture right here to prove it. Yeah, I can't wait to read that comic eventually. Yeah, Rathtars are just terrifying to me. Like, balls of biting with tentacles coming out of them. They've got all the check marks. They've got tentacles, they've got danger, they've got no eyes. And if you look through my list, like, those things put, like, creatures more towards the top. As you can see in the picture, they've got, like, nasty, slimy skin. They've got, like, nasty stuff coming out of their mouth, like, drool everywhere, you know. Absolutely nasty. So that's my list of the top 10 scariest beasts in Star Wars. And then we'll go through it again. You've got the Nexu, the Gutker, the Acklay, the Rancor. You've got the Sarlacc, the Lilac, the Crate Dragon. You've got Dianogas. You've got Geonosian brainworms, and at the very top, you've got Rathtars. So, what are your top 10 scariest animals in Star Wars? Do you think the Wampa is the scariest? Do you think, I don't know, blurgs are just absolutely terrifying? Leave your thoughts in the comments or in the chat if you're watching live. But with that, that's all I've got to say about the top 10 scariest animals.